Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for showing up again for another episode of Winning, right? Entrepreneur Sales. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'm just having some fun with you here today. Can't always be so darn serious. Man, I'm excited. Woo, here we go. Look, the thing for me when I think about selling is just selling identities. People just can't psychologically fight it. I feel like it's the highest level of persuasion. So that's why I titled this video, Identity Selling. Why prospects buy who they want to become, not what you sell. So look, most salespeople spend their entire careers selling products, okay? And I'm sure you're doing it right now. Salespeople sell features, good salespeople sell benefits, great salespeople sell outcomes, but the killers sell identity. This is where the game really changes because human beings do not make decisions based solely on logic. They make decisions based on who they believe they are and who they want to become, right? The moment you understand that, everything's going to change. Everything will change. The prospect, you have to understand, write it down, is not buying bookkeeping. They're not buying my tax. They're not buying my coaching. They're not buying my advisory services. They're buying a future version of themselves. So the sale is going to happen when the future identity becomes more compelling than their current reality. And that's what you have to shift them over to. So we're going to go deep into one of the most insane psychological forces in human behavior, which is their identity, right? They can't fight their own identity. They will always do who and what they think they are. So module 1. Let's title this The Human Brain, okay? So the human brain protects identity above almost everything. Most people think survival is the strongest force in human psychology. Well, it isn't. What is consistency, okay? Psychologists have repeatedly found that people will often choose being consistent with their identity over choices that objectively benefit them. Well, why? Because identity creates certainty. Well, the brain loves certainty, okay? And it really hates contradictions. Once someone adopts an identity, they begin looking for evidence that supports it. A business owner who sees himself as successful interprets setbacks differently. Sorry, I wanted to almost take this conversation one way, but I did it in the middle of talking. But in all seriousness, a business owner who sees himself as successful will always interpret their setbacks differently. And for a salesperson who sees herself as elite behaves differently. So look at it from a CPA. A CPA who sees herself as a trusted advisor communicates differently. So the identity becomes a filter, not a belief. And filters are what determine their decisions. My gosh, this cat of mine walking under my feet. He's a beautiful cat. But let's go to module 2. Why most sales presentations fail. Okay, why most sales presentations fail. Well, they sound like this. You know, I offer bookkeeping services, QuickBooks cleanups, or our certification does this, you'll receive this, you'll learn this. Well, at the end of the day, you have to understand that nobody cares. Not because the information that you have isn't valuable, but because information rarely changes their identity. Think about it for a second. How many people know they should work out? Okay, how many people actually do? The issue isn't the information. The issue is the identity that they have. People do not become fit because they learn about fitness. They become fit when they start seeing themselves as a type of person who trains consistently. The same thing happens in sales. Your prospect is not asking, what do your services include? What does your program include? They're subconsciously asking, what kind of person will this make me become? Okay, what type of business owner am I going to be once I have this fixed? You have to get them in that type of thinking. So let's go to module 3. So remember, selling isn't telling. Selling isn't telling. It's identity framing people through good questions and solving their problems through good questions, right? They'll sell themselves, don't worry. Module 3, the 3 identities every prospect has. So every prospect enters a conversation with 3 identities. They've got their current identity, who they believe they are today. Some examples of that would be they're just an employee, I'm not really a salesperson, I'm not ready, I'm still learning, I'm not an expert yet. This identity creates limitations. And then there's the desired identity, who they desperately want to become. So they're thinking, I want my own firm, I want freedom, I want clients coming to me, I want to be respected, I want to be financially independent. This identity creates motivation. And then there's the feared identity, who they never want to become, right? still working in this job for 10 years, living paycheck to paycheck, always struggling, watching others succeed while they stay what? Stuck. So this identity right here creates urgency. And if you want to be the best salesperson, you have to uncover all three so you can figure out what identity you're working with. You definitely want to get them to the one where it's outcome driven. Outcome driven. So, module 4. Why accountants buy? Okay? Why accountants buy? This is critical this is critical. Okay? Most accountants don't buy education because they love education. They buy because of identity transformation. Okay? So why do most people want to buy, right? Our programs. They want to become the trusted advisor, the business owner, the expert, the CEO, the authority, the professional people seek out, okay? They seek out more and more and more. The more you learn, the more you earn. The person generating reoccurring revenue, the person with freedom, the person whose family depends on them, the person building wealth, that's what they're buying. And it's not the course, it's not the certification. You're buying the identity. You're going from where you are now as a bookkeeper, as a tax preparer, into being a profit and growth expert and advisor. That's the identity. Look, and this is the identity gap, okay? Every sale exists inside a gap. On one side, there's the current identity. On the other side, there's the desired identity. That the larger the gap, the bigger the emotional tension. For example, all right, their current identities. I'm making 50 grand working for someone else. The desired identity, I own a firm generating 250,000 annually. Well, that's a really large gap, okay? And your job isn't to sell the bridge. Your job is to make that gap visible. Because once people clearly see the gap, they naturally start seeking solutions. All right, let's go to module 6. Elite questions that uncover identity. Instead of asking surface level questions, what are you looking for? Ask identity questions. Try. What would success look like for you 3 years from now? What kind of business owner do you want to become? What would change for your family if you accomplish that goal? When people talk about your firm 5 years from now, what do you want them saying? Okay, well, here's another one for you. What's the version of yourself you're trying to build? Notice what's happening. You're no longer discussing products, you're discussing transformation, and that's where the emotion lives. That's where the decision happens. All right, let's go to module 7. Why people say they need to think about it. Most salespeople believe this is a money objection, okay? Often it is not. It's an identity conflict. The prospect wants the future identity, but they still identify with the current version of themselves. Part of them wants to grow, part of them wants safety, part of them wants certainty, part of them wants control. The real battle isn't between the program and the price, it's between the two identities, the old self and the future self, okay? So module 8, how elite salespeople frame the decision. So average salespeople will ask, would you like to enroll? Well, the best of the best frame identity. Okay, so based on everything you shared, it sounds like you've already decided the kind of firm owner you want to become. Would you agree? The prospect says yes. Then the real question isn't whether you're capable. The real question is whether you're ready to start becoming that person. You notice the difference? The conversation no longer becomes about tuition. It's about the identity. Let's go to module 9. The highest level of closing. The highest level of closing. Well, it's definitely not pressure, okay? It's two people coming together, right? Current actions, future goals, desired identity. When those three become aligned, decisions become obvious. Because people naturally move toward identities they believe belong to who? Themselves. All right? So understand that the greatest sales lesson you'll probably ever learn is this, that people do not buy products, they do not buy services, not features, but what they do buy are versions of themselves. So the entrepreneur buys freedom, the business owner buys growth, the accountant buys authority, the advisor buys influence, the salesperson buys confidence. The moment you stop selling products and start helping prospects step into new identity, your conversations change forever. The most powerful questions in sales are not what do you want, it's who do you want to become. It's not what do you want, okay? So get away from that mindset. Every sale starts with that answer. Who do you want to become? So just get into it, hop into it, and grab it. Figure out the why and anchor it in. Well, make sure you like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.